Every day we wake up to the same scene. We scroll through headlines that scream disaster, economy, politics, climate changes. We live with problems that seems unresolvable. As humans, this is very new to us. Our ancestors had long, fearful nights that were filled with uncertainty. But then in the morning, the sun rose, problem was over. The threat was visible, immediate, collective. But today's threats are different. They are constant and often very hard to collectively decide on a solution, let alone apply that solution. Instead of short bursts of crisis and relief, we now live in a constant, chronic uncertainty. But the state of stress in nature is usually very brief. If you're chased by a predator, in a short while the chase will be over. Either you have successfully escaped from the predator or you're dead. In both cases, the stress was over. But our modern lives are filled with seemingly unresolvable situations, and we have no control over these waves of uncertainty. But we can realistically change our reaction to it. That's why in this episode, I want to talk about resilience. Resilience is not the absence of struggle. It's not about being unshakable or immune to pain. Resilience is the capacity to recover. It's the ability to take a hit and get back up, like a tree in a storm. The resilient tree bends, sways, and maybe after losing some of its branches, it survives the storm. That's the essence of resilience. It's not the perfection, not the toughness, but the habit of withstanding stress and reorienting yourself after the disruption. Resilience was very important throughout all human history, but today resilience is a must. The modern world made it more important than power, intelligence, and even talent. Talent without resilience tends to burn out, or intelligence without resilience can get paralyzed, depressed, bitter. Resilience is the quiet skill that carries you forward, and it's not something you are born with. Resilience is a result, an outcome. It shows up when the multiple systems within you line up and support each other. The following 5 pillars make resilience possible. Acceptance. Acceptance is the foundation. Without it, the system crumbles. When something goes wrong, failure, loss, rejection, we tend to avoid the bad feeling that comes with it. That's the default mode of our brain. Chase what feels good and avoid what feels bad. This was the simple code of our existence throughout human history. But resilience begins by breaking that habit, by allowing yourself to feel the feeling. Acceptance may sound passive, but it's an act of bravery in some sense. It's saying, yes, this is painful, and I'm not running away from it. Yes, avoiding the bad feeling feels safer in the short run. But if you always dodge pain, you never build the necessary muscles required for recovery after the pain. The second pillar for me is the growth focus. Once you have accepted the pain, next step is, what did this experience teach you? What possibilities are in your life because this bad experience happened? With a fixed mindset, we tend to think like, I failed, that's why I'm a failure. But a growth mindset is running like this. I failed and this experience is changing me. Reflecting objectively, especially on past bad experiences, is not an easy thing to do, but it can change the worst thing that happened to you, something truly life-changing. This doesn't mean sugarcoating it. It's about honest reframing. During my final year in high school and my whole time in college, my father was battling with cancer. It lasted in total of 5 years, and then he passed away. He was truly a rare person. Curious, honest, loving, trustworthy, generous, funny, intelligent, rebellious. His passing felt like a hole opened up in my life. At the time, I was thinking this was the worst thing that happened to me, but after 14 years, I can see that this was a real turning point for me. In his absence, I had to fill all that void, and with that push today, I'm talking to a camera, hoping to add some value. Expectations. Expectations are double-edged. They push us to change the reality according to our vision, but they also define what's acceptable for our inner world. Our level of resilience is deeply tied to our expectations about life. And those expectations are shaped by the narratives that we live by. For example, if you believe that best thing to do in life is to be happy all the time, then every hardship feels like a violation on our sense of meaning. It shakes you more than the event itself. But if you hold a worldview like Buddha, life is suffering, then hardship feels expected, normal. Yes, the bad experience will still hurt you, but it doesn't shatter your worldview. Our expectations shape how much pain surprises us. And for being resilient, bending those expectations or having realistic expectations can help a lot. Coping mechanisms. Acceptance, growth focus, and expectations give resilience the form. But coping mechanisms are the everyday tool that help us live with it. The best one is social support. Talking, requesting help from someone, being supported. Humans aren't used to processing pain alone. In fact, loneliness magnifies the negative impact. And coping mechanisms also include distractions. Yes, the big bad D word. Dwelling endlessly on a wound distorts your perspective and drains the energy. And in those moments, distractions are very beneficial. But here is the key. Good distractions are easy to stop, like exercise, music, walking, cooking. When the moment passes, you should easily return to your real issue at hand. Bad distractions like endless scrolling, compulsive drinking, 12-hour gaming sessions, they are sticky and they are hard to put down. Remember, the default setting of our brain is avoiding the bad feeling. And your distractions should provide the fresh air needed. Finally, fifth column, humor. Humor is something other than distraction. It transforms the suffering instead of just postponing it. Humor gives you distance. It makes you take something unbearable and make the situation a little lighter. It reminds you that even in pain, you're still alive and kicking. Humor doesn't solve problems. And as an abuser of humor myself, it only cushions the impact. And sometimes that's exactly what we need. It makes the fall less frightening and getting back up less heavy. So acceptance gives you the ground to start from. Growth focus points you forward. Expectations frame what feels normal and acceptable. Coping mechanisms carry you through the worst in the process, and humor keeps your soul from collapsing, if you have one. With these 5 pillars, turn resilience from something very vague into a set of habits that can be practiced by anyone. Resilience always comes back to emotions. Every emotion was a piece of ancient code helping us to survive. But in the modern world, these same emotions can misfire. Fear spikes at a job interview. You're not attacked by a lion. You're simply having a chat with the HR lady. Anger erupts in like a traffic jam, as if your survival was on stake. Sadness lingers in our life even after some simple rejections, as if exile from the tribe has just happened. Resilient people don't push down their feelings, and they don't obey them blindly also. All our emotions are signals, and without first feeling the feeling, you can't start the process, because the events themselves don't decide whether you break or adapt, but your relationship with your emotions does. If this video shifted your perspective, support the channel by liking and subscribing. This is Existential Help Desk.